The whisper started as pure science, a non-repeating sequence of quantum data known as the Silent Cipher, a map to limitless power found by physicist Dr. Elara Vance. Her life shatters when the crucial component, the quantum key, is stolen by the shadowy organization Aetherium, forcing her into a reluctant alliance with Kaan, a former Special Forces agent. Their desperate, globe-trotting hunt across Istanbul's ancient tunnels, Tokyo's neon-lit towers, and the frozen expanse of Iceland is a high-stakes race not just for a stolen artifact, but for the future of reality itself, placing Elara's genius against Miro's ruthless, world-ending ambition. If you liked the video and have subscribed to my channel, let's move on to our story. Enjoy watching. The hum was Dr. Elara Vance's only companion. Not the gentle, constant whir of the server racks lining the sterile walls of her Istanbul laboratory, but a deeper, more resonant vibration felt in the bones, the sound of the universe whispering. For 7 years, that whisper had been the Silent Cipher, an elusive, non-repeating sequence of quantum data that she alone had isolated. It was, she was certain, a coordinate, a map to a power source capable of instantaneous matter transfer. A power that could reshape reality. Tonight, the whisper was reaching a crescendo. On the holographic display, the fragmented data points coalesced, forming a complex, iridescent structure. Next to the screen, suspended in a magnetic field within a lead-line containment unit, floated the key, the quantum key. It wasn't a key in the traditional sense, but a nanotechnological sphere barely larger than a golf ball, engineered to translate the Silent Cipher into a usable energy signature. It was the culmination of her life's work, and in less than an hour she would perform the final calibration. Elara, clad in a crisp lab coat, ran a final diagnostic on the key, her dark eyes intensely focused. She wasn't driven by a desire for fame or wealth. She was driven by a burning, almost spiritual need to understand the cosmic geometry the cipher revealed. She believed this energy was meant for stewardship, not conquest. Then the lights flickered. It wasn't a power surge. The emergency generators didn't kick in because the facility hadn't lost power. It had been isolated. A cold dread, the kind that bypasses logic and settles directly in the gut, gripped her. The lab's sophisticated security system, a network of laser grids, motion sensors, and biometric locks, should have been impervious. A rhythmic, electronic pulse echoed from the main entrance door. The steel-reinforced door wasn't being forced. It was being persuaded with surgical precision. Elara scrambled to the console, her fingers flying across the interface, attempting to initiate a level 5 lockdown, but the system reported a complete disconnect. Someone hadn't just bypassed her security, they had vanished it. She didn't wait to see who would enter. Her training, a legacy from her father, a disgraced astrophysicist who taught her to always have an exit strategy, kicked in. She sprinted to the hidden floor panel beneath her main desk, retrieving a sleek, titanium-cased backup drive, containing every byte of the cipher's raw data, and slipped it into her pocket. As the main door hissed open, she caught a glimpse of them. 2 figures, masked and clad in tactical black, moving with the terrifying efficiency of well-trained predators. They weren't thieves. They were specialized operators. Aetherium. She knew the name from the whispered warnings of her few remaining academic confidants. A shadow organization obsessed with monopolizing nascent, world-altering technologies. One operator moved to neutralize her, the other, with unnerving speed, went straight for the containment unit. Elara didn't fight, she reacted. She grabbed a heavy-duty wrench and threw it towards the server stack, creating a loud, sparking distraction. It bought her precious seconds to leap towards the emergency hatch leading to the underground parking garage. Secure the target. Do not engage the scientist. The command came over the operator's comms, a voice cold and digitally distorted. The operator at the unit deployed a specialized field disruptor, bypassing the magnetic suspension system in seconds. The quantum key, a fragile vessel of unimaginable power, was snatched from the air and placed in a heavily shielded metallic satchel. Elara dove through the hatch, slamming the reinforced steel door above her head just as the first bullets, suppressed, designed to puncture, not to be heard, ricocheted off the metal. She didn't look back. She knew the key was gone. 2 hours later, Elara was shivering in a dimly lit coffee shop overlooking the Bosphorus. The lab was a lost cause, abandoned after she triggered the silent, anonymous distress beacon. She hadn't called the police. They would ask questions she couldn't answer, and Aetherium would get to her before the bureaucracy did. She needed someone who operated outside the lines, someone who dealt in high-stakes risk, not academic grants. She needed Kaan Demir. Kaan Demir didn't answer his phone. He answered an encrypted message requesting a consultation on high-value asset retrieval, code red urgency, sent to an unlisted frequency. When he finally arrived, he didn't use the front door. He emerged from a side alley, his movements fluid and observant. Kaan was the antithesis of the cloistered scientist. Tall, built like a lightweight boxer, with a 3-day stubble that suggested perpetual vigilance. His worn leather jacket and jeans were a deliberate camouflage against the backdrop of Istanbul's nightlife. He was a former Special Forces reconnaissance expert, now a highly paid risk management consultant. A title that tastefully masked professional retrieval specialist and occasional problem solver. He slid into the booth across from her, his dark eyes instantly assessing the situation. He didn't ask what happened. He asked, "Where is the asset and how much time do we have?" Elara took a shaky breath, placing the titanium backup drive on the table. They took the quantum key. It's a nanotech focusing device. Without it, the energy source is inert. With it, the holder can access the coordinates of a power capable of instant transfer. Matter, data, anything. We have maybe 48 hours before they complete the final sequence. Kaan didn't flinch at the mention of quantum transfer. He'd seen stranger things. Who are they? Aetherium. They want global technological control. Their leader is known only as Miro. He's charismatic, ruthless, and highly funded. This isn't just about stealing tech, it's about owning the future. Kaan picked up the drive, testing its weight. You're asking me to go up against a shadow government for a golf ball that can teleport things. Expensive consultation. I have no money, Kaan, Elara admitted, the words tasting like ash. But I have something Miro desperately needs. The raw data. The Silent Cipher. The coordinates are useless without the correct decryption key, and that key is complex, ever-shifting, buried deep in here. She tapped the drive. You get the key back and I give you enough data to vanish forever, the kind of information Aetherium would pay billions to suppress. Kaan studied her face. He saw terror, but beneath it, a spine of steel. She was desperate but not weak. He opened the drive using a microscanner on his watch. The data streams were indecipherable chaos to the untrained eye. Aetherium's operators are elite. They didn't leave a trail, did they? He asked. They thought they didn't, Elara whispered, a flicker of her scientific brilliance momentarily overcoming her fear. She reached into her pocket and pulled out a single nearly invisible particle caught on a piece of adhesive film. When the operator deployed the disruptor, I calibrated the ambient magnetic field to attract a cluster of nanoresidue. It's inert now, but it's their signature. I have a trace, a single nanoparticle from their shielding material. Kaan's eyebrows raised slightly. You marked them in the middle of a raid. Impressive. He placed the particle under his scanner. A complex molecular signature appeared. He cross-referenced it with his vast black market database. The match was instantaneous, unexpected, and strangely archaic. This shielding material, it's not from a standard military supplier. It contains trace elements of a specific type of oxidized iron, common only in very old artifacts. Kaan paused, zooming in on a micro-etching on the particle. It wasn't modern circuitry. It was a stylized, barely visible symbol. It looks like a sigil, an anchor. Elara leaned in, her gaze sharpening. That's not an anchor. That's a motif from an early Ottoman cartographer, Pyri Reis. It was used to denote secret, high-value locations, often underground caches. Kaan looked out at the lights shimmering on the water. Miro is using cutting-edge quantum tech wrapped in centuries-old secrets. A distraction. A dead end. Or a beginning, Elara countered, tapping the raw cipher data again. If the particle's metallic signature matches an old location, then the first step of their plan is rooted in that location. They may have taken the key, but they need to synchronize it with a specific ancient frequency or landmark to unlock the coordinates from my drive, even if they have the drive itself. Kaan nodded slowly. It was a risky deduction, but it was the only lead. He pulled up a map of Istanbul on his phone, overlaying the known locations of Pyri Reis's undocumented markers. One stood out, a known but supposedly abandoned underground waterway connecting the Grand Bazaar, Kapalikarsi, to an old sultan's palace. The Grand Bazaar, Kaan muttered. The perfect hiding spot. A million places to disappear. He looked at Elara, the gravity of their agreement settling in the air between them. I'll do it. Asset retrieval accepted. But we move now. And you, Dr. Vance, you stay one step behind me and you follow every order, no questions asked. We're not in a lab anymore, we're in the deep end. Elara didn't hesitate. She grabbed her leather purse, already mentally preparing for the shift from theoretical physics to brute force reality. Lead the way, Kaan. But be warned, my drive contains the decryption. If they get it, you lose your leverage. And if you lose my trust, I erase the key and the cipher goes silent forever. A faint, almost imperceptible smile touched Kaan's lips. Good. Mutual assured destruction. That's a start. They stood up, two starkly contrasting figures, the brilliant scientist and the lethal pragmatist, ready to plunge into the labyrinth of Istanbul's night, chasing a microscopic particle and a stolen sphere that held the map to the universe. The first stop, the dusty, endless tunnels beneath the glittering chaos of the Grand Bazaar. The race for the quantum key, and the future, had just begun. The air in the tunnels beneath the Grand Bazaar was thick with the dust of centuries, a suffocating mix of dried clay, ancient spices, and the faint, metallic tang of stagnant water. Kaan and Elara stood where the air turned cold, at a seemingly innocuous trapdoor hidden beneath a worn tapestry in an antique dealer's secluded back room. Kaan had persuaded the shopkeeper to loan him the keys with a brief, intense negotiation that involved a wad of cash and a stare that promised extreme misfortune if the arrangement was mentioned to anyone. Kaan flicked on a compact, military-grade torch. The beam cut through the gloom, revealing a narrow, stone staircase descending into darkness. This is where the map marker points, he murmured, securing the trapdoor above them. Miro is using these old tunnels for ingress and egress. They're a ghost network, impossible to monitor electronically. Elara adjusted the strap of her bag, her face set with grim determination. She was out of her element, the world of dark, damp, confined spaces, but her focus remained on the mission. The nanoparticle trace was faint, but definite. The magnetic remnants confirmed that Aetherium set up a temporary staging point down here. They're not just moving through, they're working. As they moved deeper, the silence was broken only by the drip of water and the crunch of their footsteps. Kaan was in his element, his senses heightened. He moved with a graceful economy of motion, his hand never far from the concealed compact pistol strapped to his hip. He was scanning for laser grids, tripwires, and, most importantly, the faint chemical scent of recently used explosives or electronics. They followed the tunnel for what felt like an hour, passing crumbling cisterns and strange, sealed-off niches. Finally, the tunnel opened into a large, domed chamber, an old Byzantine reservoir. In the center, a makeshift laboratory had been established. It was almost clinically clean, a jarring contrast to the ruin around it. A single workstation with modern, powerful servers sat on a temporary platform. But what held Elara's gaze was not the technology, it was a small, ornate Ottoman chest resting on a stone pedestal. And next to the chest, on a cooling pad, was a small, titanium component, the first missing piece. There it is, Elara breathed, a rush of scientific relief overriding her terror. A piece of the key. It looks like the energy-focusing array's initial capacitor. Too easy, Kaan muttered, sweeping his torch beam across the chamber walls. He spotted them immediately, the faint glint of infrared lenses, multiple surveillance cameras, and the almost invisible seam of a reinforced hidden door in the far wall. They knew we'd trace the particle. This is bait. They're nearby. As Kaan moved to check the hidden door, a harsh, metallic voice echoed from the chamber's speakers. It wasn't Miro but a local commander, call sign, Anchor. Dr. Vance. We appreciate you doing the legwork. We found the location, but we needed you to confirm its importance. Now hand over the data drive and perhaps we can let your friend go. Suddenly the hidden door slid open. Two Aetherium operators, wearing the same black tactical gear as the night before, emerged. They were armed with non-lethal high-frequency sonic weapons, designed to incapacitate and induce unbearable pain without leaving evidence. Move! Kaan barked, pushing Elara behind a crumbling pillar. He drew his pistol but knew he couldn't fire easily. The the sonic weapons would disorient her before he could take a clean shot, and the walls would turn the gunfire into a deafening, potentially collapsing hazard. Instead, Kaan dropped to one knee and fired 2 rapid shots, not at the operators but at the main power unit of their temporary server station. Crack, spark. The servers exploded in a shower of sparks and smoke, plunging the chamber into near-total darkness, illuminated only by Kaan's torch. Disrupt their comms. Kaan yelled. The sound will disorient them. The operators, now blinded by the sudden darkness, unleashed a wave of high-pitched sound. Elara clapped her hands over her ears, a sharp pain radiating through her temples. Kaan, anticipating the attack, had already rolled behind the pedestal, using the centuries-old stone as a makeshift barrier. He had seconds. He had to neutralize the threat and secure the key piece. Kaan used the momentary disorientation of the operators, caused by the server explosion, to his advantage. He lunged out from behind the pedestal, not toward the operators, but toward the closest water-filled recess of the old reservoir. He fired 2 controlled bursts into the shallow, murky water directly in front of the operators. The resulting sound wave, amplified and distorted by the dense stone and water, ricocheted through the chamber, momentarily stunning the operators. Their sonic weapons dropped to the floor, emitting a useless, sputtering static. Go. Get the piece. Kaan yelled, already moving into a hand-to-hand combat stance as the operators regained their bearings. Elara didn't hesitate. She dashed to the pedestal, ignoring the throbbing in her head. She snatched the titanium component, feeling the faint, controlled hum of its power. As she turned, she noticed the ornate Ottoman chest. It wasn't decoration. Kaan was a whirlwind of motion, his movements precise and brutal. He used the confined space to limit the operator's reach, taking down the first with a quick elbow strike to the throat, followed by a bone-jarring kick to the knee. The second operator was faster, recovering quickly and lunging with a knife. Kaan sidestepped, catching the wrist, twisting, and driving the heel of his free hand into the operator's jaw. The fight lasted less than 60 seconds. Elara. We need to go. Kaan was breathing hard, but his eyes were sharp. Wait. The chest. Elara knelt by the Ottoman box. It was locked with a heavy, rusted mechanism. Miro wouldn't just leave the piece here. There's a contingency. This chest must contain the next cipher. Kaan took a single, controlled breath, surveying the fallen operatives. He had maybe 2 minutes before backup arrived. He pulled a small, specialized lockpick set from his jacket. The lock was old but complex, designed more to delay than to secure. Click. The mechanism gave. Inside the chest, resting on velvet, was not another piece of the key, but a single, pristine sheet of parchment. It was covered not in a map or a sigil, but in densely packed, handwritten symbols. Elara grabbed the parchment, her eyes scanning the alien notation. It's a mathematical derivation, she whispered, her scientific mind instantly engaged. A complex, nonlinear algebraic equation. The result of the equation must be the coordinate for the next fragment. It's too specific to be random. They didn't need the Silent Cipher drive yet, they were forcing the key to reveal its own internal map. Kaan snatched the parchment and folded it swiftly. Miro breaks the key into pieces and uses the coordinates of the first piece to hide the code for the second. A digitized scavenger hunt, designed to keep us running. And to ensure that if the pieces are recovered, we have to solve his puzzle to get the next one, Elara finished. It's brilliant and arrogant. A distant siren, sharp and high-pitched, echoed through the tunnels. Aetherium backup. Time's up, Kaan stated, grabbing her arm. We have the piece in the code. We run. They exited the reservoir through a different, smaller passage Kaan had marked, a forgotten emergency exit leading to a storm drain. As they scrambled out of the ground, emerging far from the Grand Bazaar's main entrance into the chaotic side streets, Kaan checked the paper one last time. The equation was bafflingly complex, involving high-level particle physics and obscure notations. It would take a supercomputer hours to crack, but Elara's mind was already at work, translating the symbols. This notation, it references a specific frequency band, Elara said, her voice strained but excited. Not a geographical coordinate, Kaan. It references a frequency used in experimental artificial intelligence research. Specifically, a hub in Asia. Kaan didn't need to ask which one. He already knew where a vast amount of secretive, high-frequency AI research was taking place. "The next stop is an ancient history, Doctor," Kaan said, hailing a taxi with a sharp whistle. "It's the near future. Tokyo." He glanced down at the parchment. Miro's game had just accelerated, transitioning from a historical hide-and-seek to a high-stakes, cross-continental sprint. The first piece of the quantum key felt hot in Elara's hand, a tiny beacon of terrifying power and the only leverage they had. The transition from the ancient dust of Istanbul to the hypermodern pulse of Tokyo was jarring, a deliberate whiplash designed to disorient. Elara and Kaan arrived exhausted but driven, immediately plunging into the city's electric energy. The dense, vertical sprawl was a stark contrast to the historical maze of the Grand Bazaar, yet both offered a similar advantage to their pursuers: anonymity on a massive scale. They had spent the 12-hour flight decoding Miro's algebraic cipher. It was a masterpiece of misdirection, using known quantum field equations but substituting key variables with frequency values traceable to a specific, highly secretive research facility. "The equation points to Shinsei dynamics," Elara confirmed, looking up from her encrypted tablet as their bullet train sliced through the neon-lit cityscape. "They're ground zero for experimental, non-Turing AI development. They've been working on a true, self-aware intelligence. The next fragment of the key, it must be used to interface with Shinsei's main processor. Aetherium isn't just stealing tech, they're harvesting it in stages," Kaan observed, running a simulation of the facility's security schematics on his own device. "They used Istanbul to retrieve the first piece in the code. They'll use Shinsei dynamics to retrieve the second piece, probably by inserting the first fragment into the AI's core system to generate the new coordinates. It's a key that unlocks a new key." Shinsei Dynamics was a fortress of glass and steel in the Shinjuku district, protected by layers of biometric and behavioral authentication. Standard infiltration was impossible. "We can't just walk in," Kaan stated. "Their physical security is impeccable. But if the target is the AI core, that means our approach is cyber." Elara nodded, her mind already racing through possibilities. "The AI isn't connected to the public network, but it needs an uplink for maintenance and data synchronization. There must be a specific time slot, a window of opportunity." Kaan had already found it. 3 hours from now. A scheduled, deep core diagnostics. The central firewall drops for precisely 60 seconds to allow a secure data burst. "We have 1 minute to physically insert the Istanbul fragment into their main terminal, a slot in the 5th sublevel, to trigger the key's next step." They used Kaan's network of contacts to secure access to the building's maintenance tunnel, a risky, unauthorized entry point, and began their ascent into the heart of the tower. The 5th sublevel was a chilling testament to technological isolation. The air was cold, the silence broken only by the continuous thrum of the massive custom-built AI server core. As they breached the maintenance access panel, Kaan took the lead, his tactical expertise dictating a silent, measured pace. "Motion sensor at 3 o'clock, he whispered, pointing to a small lens. He deployed a microjammer, a device no larger than a coin, that coated the lens in a transparent, distorting field. "We have maybe 45 seconds before the internal diagnostics register a hardware anomaly." They reached the central terminal, a formidable monolith of polished black carbon fiber. Elara immediately saw the slot where the first fragment of the quantum key was meant to go. She retrieved the small titanium capacitor from her shielded case. "The window is open," she murmured, watching a countdown timer on the terminal screen drop from 60 seconds. Just as she reached out, the terminal screen flickered, displaying not the usual diagnostics, but a cold, stylized logo, Aetherium. Then text began to scroll. "Poor attempt, Dr. Vance. Did you think your little chase was invisible? You should have stayed in the shadows. We are already inside. It's a trap," Kaan yelled. "They didn't just track us physically, they tracked our data trail on the plane. Miro is using the Shinsei AI against us." Suddenly, the security systems that Kaan had bypassed, the motion sensors, the pressure plates, all went live. The microjammer on the 3 o'clock sensor burned out. The emergency lights bathed the room in a pulsing red glow. "They've hijacked the AI and are locking down the facility," Elara realized, her heart pounding. "The core diagnostics window is a ruse. They want the full Silent Cipher drive." From the speakers came a voice that was smooth, cultured, and utterly chilling, the voice of Miro. It was the first time they had heard him. "Welcome to Tokyo, Dr. Vance. I appreciate you bringing the component to the designated location. It saved us a trip. And now hand over the drive. I'm tired of your scientific curiosity. The universe's secrets are not meant for democracy, they are meant for ownership. Miro's voice was the immediate threat, but the physical reality was more pressing. Heavy, reinforced blast doors began to slide shut, trapping them in the core room. We're running out of time. Kaan pulled a flashbang grenade from his kit. We have to break the lock. No. Wait. Elara grabbed his arm. If they're in the system, they'll know a physical breach is coming. We need to disrupt the AI's control. She stared at the open terminal slot. Miro thinks the first key fragment is the key to his next coordinate. But it's also a miniature, highly sophisticated quantum processor. If I insert the fragment now, during the shutdown sequence, I might be able to overload the AI's internal logic gate with a false command. It was insane. It meant intentionally exposing the invaluable fragment to a hostile, self-aware system. You'll fry the component, Kaan argued. If we don't, we're trapped and they get everything. The blast doors were almost sealed, leaving only a narrow gap. Kaan knew he had to buy her time. He didn't fire the grenade. Instead, he hurled the microjammer into the closing gap, creating a spark that temporarily fused the door's hydraulic system. The doors stopped, jammed 6 inches from closing. Go! Kaan yelled, drawing his pistol and covering the entrance. Elara's fingers flew across the terminal. She rapidly typed a custom code she had prepared on the flight, a recursive loop designed to simulate a massive data overflow. With a swift, desperate motion, she slammed the titanium key fragment into the terminal slot. The terminal exploded in a flash of white light. Smoke billowed out. The AI's voice system went silent. The red alert lights turned off. Did it work? Kaan asked, his weapon trained on the jammed door. I think so, Elara replied, coughing from the acrid smoke. I forced a self-quarantine protocol. The AI locked itself out, forcing Miro's remote control to drop. It bought us, maybe 10 minutes. She retrieved the key fragment. It was hot but miraculously intact. And etched onto its surface, now activated by the AI interface, was the next piece of the puzzle. A highly detailed, encrypted geographical coordinate. Kaan rushed to the jammed door, pulling out a specialized cutter. The geographical coordinate. Where is it? Elara quickly entered the data into her tablet. Her eyes widened. It's far. Remote. North Atlantic. An underwater base? A sub. Worse. It's pointing to a location beneath a glacier in the middle of a geothermal power plant in Iceland. As Kaan began to cut through the door's fused hydraulics, the smooth, cold voice of Miro returned, not from the speakers, but from the terminal's emergency auxiliary power unit. A clever move, Dr. Vance. You've earned a temporary reprieve. But you've also revealed your dedication to this chase. Iceland. A lovely, desolate place. I'll see you in the cold. But know this, you're being hunted by more than just my men. Someone close to you, a partner, is feeding me crucial information. Think about that as you freeze. The terminal went dark, the final threat hanging heavy in the air. Elara looked at Kaan, her relief instantly replaced by a paralyzing suspicion. Kaan didn't meet her eye, his focus was entirely on cutting their way out, his face expressionless and hardened. Elara clutched the key fragment, feeling the burning heat against her palm. They had the second piece and the next coordinate. But the price of victory was a searing doubt. Was her partner, the highly capable, highly secretive Kaan Demir, the traitor Miro was hinting at? The wind in Iceland didn't just blow, it carved. It was a relentless, biting force that attacked Kaan and Elara the moment they stepped off the short-haul flight onto the icy runway near the geothermal power plant. The air crackled with cold and the raw, untamed energy of the earth, a fitting stage for Miro's latest deception. The geographical coordinates etched onto the second quantum key fragment led them to a vast, humming geothermal station built into the flank of a dormant volcano. Beneath the station lay a relic of a bygone era, an abandoned Cold War research base, a facility built decades ago to explore tectonic energy manipulation, now sealed and forgotten. The doubt planted by Miro in Tokyo was a silent, festering wound between Kaan and Elara. They traveled in strained silence, the unspoken accusation hanging heavy in the pressurized cabin. Miro is trying to break our trust, Elara finally said, her breath misting in the cold air as they trekked toward the power plant's perimeter. She wore heavy, borrowed thermal gear, still looking distinctly out of place beside Kaan's rugged, field-tested clothing. Kaan didn't look at her. He's using psychological warfare. It's standard. Aetherium operatives are experts at exploiting leverage. Or, she countered, her voice dangerously steady, he's telling the truth. You are the only person who knows every move we make before we make it. You have the skills to operate two ways. You used to be risk management, for a reason, Kaan. He stopped, turning to face her, his eyes cold and hard as the ice around them. And you, Doctor, are a brilliant scientist who kept a world-changing discovery secret for 7 years. You had the chance to go to the authorities, but you came to me. Who is the true wild card here? I am tracking Aetherium because they stole your tech. You have the means to destroy the entire Cipher drive, my only payment, at any time. So stop questioning my loyalty or this partnership ends right here. The raw honesty, laced with genuine anger, cut through the suspicion. Elara realized her accusation was fueled by fear, not logic. Kaan's life was on the line too. We move forward, she conceded, the wind snatching the words from her lips. I apologize. But if you have any secret, anything that threatens this mission, I need to know it now. Kaan simply gave a tight nod. My secrets stay buried unless they compromise the mission. Right now, only Aetherium compromises the mission. They found the access point, a disguised ventilation shaft on the leeward side of the power station. Kaan, utilizing specialized climbing gear, lowered them into the cold, metal maw of the abandoned base. The descent was long and treacherous. They landed in a cavernous, subterranean hangar, once used for experimental heavy machinery. The air was stale, the silence absolute, more unsettling than the noise of Istanbul or Tokyo. The coordinates point to the hangar's central platform, Elara whispered, shining her small torch. There must be a safe deposit box, a mechanism. As they approached the center, the silence was shattered not by an explosion, but by a chilling, rhythmic scrape of metal on stone. Aetherium's ghosts emerged from the shadows. They weren't the standard tactical operators. There were 4 of them, clad in matte black suits with adaptive camouflage that made them flicker in and out of sight. They moved with silent, almost unnatural grace. These were the elite Miro's personal cleanup crew. They're not here to talk, Kaan said, immediately pushing Elara behind the rusted chassis of a decommissioned drill. They're here to terminate and retrieve. Get ready to run, Doctor. Kaan didn't draw his pistol. He knew firearms would only invite more lethal force and risked collateral damage to the structure, which could bury them alive. He drew 2 short, razor-sharp blades. The ghosts didn't use ranged weapons initially, they relied on close-quarters combat, their movements too fast to follow with the naked eye. Kaan met the first ghost head-on, deflecting a blow with one blade while driving the hilt of the other into the attacker's solar plexus. Kaan was fast, but the ghosts were relentless, their movements perfectly synchronized. Meanwhile, Elara spotted the target. The second fragment was sealed within a thick, titanium-reinforced cylinder embedded in the central platform. To unlock it, she needed to insert the first fragment and solve a final, complex puzzle. Kaan was fighting for his life. The ghosts, despite their lethal efficiency, were being held at bay by Kaan's sheer skill and unpredictability. He used the hangar's maze of pipes and debris to break their formation, turning their synchronized assault into a series of solo encounters. He took down the second ghost with a sweeping leg trip and a swift, incapacitating blow to the neck, but the third ghost landed a punishing kick to his ribs. Kaan grunted, stumbling back. Elara. The clock is ticking. Ignoring the primal fear urging her to flee, Elara sprinted to the cylinder. She inserted the Tokyo fragment. A holographic console flickered to life, displaying a complex, rotating structure, a 3-dimensional lattice of subatomic particles. It's a quantum structure model, she yelled, her fingers already flying across the interface. I have to match the lattice structure to the magnetic profile of the key fragment. It's a calibration puzzle. She was working under impossible pressure, her scientific focus fighting the adrenaline rush. Her mind raced to recall the precise magnetic resonance imaging of the key's components. Outside the safety of the console, Kaan was losing ground. The 2 remaining ghosts were pressing him, their attacks coordinated and lethal. He deflected a knife thrust with his forearm, the Kevlar sleeve momentarily saving him, but the fourth ghost immediately followed up, deploying a thin, electric filament that wrapped around Kaan's torso, delivering a paralyzing shock. Kaan hit the ground, his body seizing. His blades clattered away. The ghosts closed in, their mission parameters clear. Retrieve the key fragments, eliminate the retrieval specialist. Kaan. Elara screamed, looking up. The puzzle was at 90% completion. She saw the ghost raising its boot for a final, crushing blow. In that instant, Elara looked around wildly and saw a rusted, exposed steam pipe. With a desperate surge of adrenaline, she slammed her hand against the pipe's rusted emergency valve. With a screech of metal highly pressurized, scalding steam erupted into the air, obscuring the platform. The ghosts, momentarily blinded and disoriented by the heat and noise, flinched back. Beep click. The quantum lattice puzzle clicked into place. The cylinder hissed open, revealing the third piece of the quantum key, a miniature energy amplifier. Elara grabbed the piece, her eyes scanning its surface for the next cipher. It was there, a series of complex musical notations. She dashed to Kaan, pulling him toward the open manhole they used to enter. We have it. We have to go. Kaan, struggling against the residual paralysis, forced himself to move, crawling forward. The music, what does it mean? It means our next stop is somewhere with perfect acoustics, Elara gasped, hauling him into the pipe entrance just as the ghosts recovered. A place where culture and power intersect. Means Vienna. They disappeared into the darkness, the faint, high-pitched hum of the new key fragment vibrating in Elara's hand, a musical cipher that was leading them straight to the center of European high society, and deeper into Miro's deadly game. The opulent, historic halls of Vienna were a stark contrast to the desolate ice of Iceland. Here, wealth and secrecy mingled beneath crystal chandeliers. The musical cipher from the third fragment of the quantum key was their ticket in, a sequence of complex notes that Elara had quickly identified. It's a fragment from a lost composition by Anton Webern, Elara explained, adjusting the expensive, borrowed evening gown that Kaan insisted she wear. They were standing outside the Habsburg auction house, where the creme de la creme of European aristocracy had gathered for a private charity gala and auction. The entire score is believed to have been destroyed, but records show a single handwritten transcription once existed. The musical notation on the key must be pointing to that transcription. Webern was obsessed with mathematical patterns in music, Kaan noted, looking dangerously sharp in a tailored tuxedo that belied the two hidden blades beneath his jacket. Miro is using a forgotten piece of cultural history to hide a piece of cutting-edge technology. It's his calling card, the intersection of old power and new science. Kaan had used his contacts to secure their invitations and a fabricated identity for Elara as a wealthy, obscure art collector. Their objective, the auction's main event, a rare collection of historical manuscripts. The Webern transcription had not been publicly advertised. It was too sensitive, a piece of whispering history only the most exclusive collectors would know about. They moved through the crowd, Elara a beacon of nervous intensity, Kaan a silent, watchful shadow. Her scientific mind, usually dedicated to particles and fields, was now focused on decoding the subtle cues of human behavior, the calculating glances, the whispered deals. The auction commenced. A collection of minor artifacts passed under the hammer until the auctioneer, a man with the unervingly polite demeanor of a predator, introduced the main event, Lot 47, the Danube collection of unpublished manuscripts. As the mahogany box containing the manuscripts was brought out, Elara leaned in. It has to be in that box. Miro will have an operative here. They won't bid, they'll use the chaos of the auction to swap or steal the correct folio. Kaan scanned the room, identifying the probable Aetherium operative. A sleek, silver-haired woman in the VIP box, not showing interest in the bidding, but keeping her eyes fixed on the manuscript box. Too poised, too observant. The one in silver, Kaan muttered into his comms mic, a nearly invisible device taped to his throat. Her name is Lyra. Former Mossad signals analyst. Highly dangerous. The bidding for Lot 47 escalated rapidly, driven by genuine interest and calculated financial ego. When the lot was finally sold to an unseen Russian collector for a staggering price, the silver-haired Lyra made her move. As the auctioneer turned to acknowledge the winner, Lyra's hand darted into a deep pocket. She wasn't pulling out a weapon but a thin, flexible foil, a sophisticated electronic cloaking device designed to temporarily scramble nearby security sensors. She's going for the swap, Kaan whispered. Elara, distraction. Now. Elara didn't need to be told twice. She grabbed a champagne flute from a passing waiter and, with a subtle movement that looked like a clumsy stumble, sent a wave of sparkling wine cascading down the tuxedo of the man standing next to her, a minor European noble. "Oh, I am terribly sorry," Elara exclaimed in flawless German, generating an immediate, noisy disruption. In the ensuing microsecond of confusion, Kaan acted. He used the cover of the distraction to slip around the back of the platform. Lyra, momentarily delayed by the commotion, was about to touch the mahogany box. Kaan moved with the speed of a striking viper. He didn't engage in a full fight. He executed a textbook snatch-and-run maneuver. He knocked the electronic foil out of her hand with a sharp chop, grabbed the entire manuscript box, and vanished into the staff corridor behind the stage before anyone realized he was gone. In a small, soundproofed service closet 2 floors up, Kaan and Elara tore through the manuscripts. "Find the Webern score," Kaan instructed, his eyes fixed on the closet door, his hand on the knob. Elara found it almost immediately, a thin yellowed folio tucked deep into the box. The handwritten score was exquisite, but it was the small, almost invisible annotation in the margin that caught her attention. It wasn't musical. It was a dense series of chemical formulae. "Got it?" Elara breathed, carefully unfolding the page. "The musical cipher led us here, but the real code is a chemical structure formula." She carefully scanned the formula using a miniature analysis tool Kaan provided. As the tablet translated the symbols, the chemical name appeared: isotopylene 157. "It's a theoretical power source, an isotope of extraordinary density and energy output," Elara explained. "It's the composition of the quantum key's power core. The 4th fragment must be the power source itself, and the formula is the key to identifying its location." Kaan, meanwhile, had found something else in the manuscript box, something tucked into a hidden compartment on the underside of the lid. It was a faded photograph. He turned it over. It was an old black-and-white picture of a young, stern-faced physics student, standing beside a much older, distinguished professor. Written on the back in a looping, authoritative hand were the words, "Miro and Dr. Vance, 1998, Prague." Elara went pale, her eyes glued to the photograph. "Dr. Vance, that's my father. He was Miro's mentor." Kaan looked between the photo and Elara. "Miro is a pseudonym. Your father's student, Elias Mirovic, he became Miro. The obsession isn't just about power, Elara. It's personal. He's replicating your father's research, finishing what he started, or perhaps, correcting what your father abandoned." The revelation was a hammer blow. Elara's father, the man she revered, had a direct connection to their adversary. The hunt had just become a family conflict. Suddenly, the door rattled violently. Lyra and 2 Aetherium enforcers had found them. "Give me the folio, Demir." Lyra's voice was muffled but tight with controlled rage. "Too late, Lyra." Kaan threw the heavy mahogany box against the door, buying them precious seconds. "We have the formula, Elara. Where is the component?" Elara frantically cross-referenced the isotopylene 157 formula against Kaan's global shipping manifest data, a massive database of high-security transport logs. The unique isotope signature was rare, linked to only one known transport path. "It's not in a lab or a base," Elara said, the terror giving way to cold analysis. "The power core is too volatile to store long-term. It's in transit. The manifest shows a high-security submersible transport operation. The Mediterranean. A submerged target," Kaan said, his eyes already calculating logistics. "Deep ocean retrieval." A powerful blow rattled the door again, splintering the frame. Kaan grabbed Elara's hand. "We move now. You get out through the skylight, I handle these 3. Meet me at the extraction point." "No, I'm not leaving you to fight them alone." "Yes, you are," Kaan commanded, his voice leaving no room for argument. "You have the cipher and the key fragments. You are the high-value asset. Now move." He turned, kicking a heavy steel locker across the room to barricade the door just as Lyra's team broke through. Kaan drew his silenced pistol and fired a precise shot at the ceiling fire suppression system, drowning the room in a torrent of water and buying Elara the final, Critical moments she needed to climb through the small skylight and disappear onto the rooftops of Vienna. The game had entered its most dangerous phase: personal vengeance, global scale, and the cold, dark depths of the sea. The revelation about Miro's identity. Elias Mirovic, a former protege of Elara's father, had twisted the mission from a simple retrieval into a deeply personal conflict. The fourth cipher, the chemical formula for isotopylene 157, led them to the vast, cold expanse of the Mediterranean Sea. Kaan, having narrowly evaded Lyra and her enforcers in Vienna, met Elara in a secluded port town in Greece. The fourth fragment, the key's volatile power core, was aboard a highly specialized deep-sea research submersible owned by a shell corporation with clear Aetherium ties. They're transporting the power core, not storing it, Kaan explained, examining satellite imagery on a secure laptop. His face was a mask of cold concentration, the close call in Vienna leaving a palpable tension in his demeanor. It's moving between two known Aetherium nodes. Our window is during the mid-transfer rendezvous, a point 800 meters down, directly over the site of an ancient, undocumented shipwreck. Miro is at it again, Elara murmured, tracing the coordinates. Hiding tomorrow's technology in yesterday's ruins. The isotope requires constant, specific environmental controls. That submersible is the perfect mobile vault. Their plan was audacious: intercept the submersible at the transfer point, infiltrate the pressurized cargo bay, and retrieve the power core before Aetherium could complete their maneuver. Kaan had acquired a state-of-the-art, two-person military dry combat submersible (DCS). A silent, fast-attack vessel designed for deep-sea insertion. The descent was silent, the pressure outside the thick hull immense. Elara, cramped next to Kaan in the pilot's seat, felt the familiar dread of being out of her element, amplified by the crushing, absolute darkness of the abyss. "Target is visible," Kaan stated, his voice calm over the comms, controlling the DCS with expert precision. The Aetherium submersible, the Aether 1, was a large, menacing vessel, glowing faintly with external work lights. Next to it, tethered by heavy cables, was a smaller, unmanned transfer drone. Their target was the central cargo hatch of the Aether 1. "I'm initiating silent docking procedure," Kaan said. "We have maybe 15 minutes before the Aether 1 finishes its system check and resumes course. Elara, you stay focused on the power core's containment field. If you fail to stabilize it, the resulting energy surge could boil this section of the sea." They locked the DCS onto the cargo hatch and Kaan, wearing a high-tech deep-sea suit, manually activated the hatch-cutting torch. The grinding sound was deafening inside the hull. The hatch gave way. They were in. The cargo bay was a pressurized, controlled environment. The air was frigid, filled with the faint hiss of nitrogen. At the center, suspended in a highly shielded magnetic cradle, was the fourth fragment, a dull, lead-colored sphere radiating a faint, palpable heat. The isotopylene 157 power core. Elara moved with a speed born of scientific necessity, ignoring the cold. She connected her instruments to the cradle, her hands flying across the control panel. The stabilization matrix is custom-coded. It's designed to self-destruct if anyone tries to remove the core without the correct sequence. "Miro's paranoia," Kaan muttered, his eyes scanning the bay. "The ghost team from Iceland taught him we're persistent." Kaan noticed the most disturbing element. The cargo bay wasn't just holding the power core. It was stacked with crates labeled with complex chemical symbols and high-grade explosives. This wasn't a simple transfer, it was a payload delivery. Elara's breath hitched. "Got it? I'm overriding the safety protocol with the isotopylene formula. 3, 2, 1. Whoosh. The cradle's field collapsed. Elara swiftly placed the power core into her specialized lead-line case, securing the third fragment alongside it. "Success," she whispered, a wave of relief washing over her. But Kaan's voice was grim. "Look at this." He pointed to a holographic map projected from the Aether 1's main console. It wasn't a simple route map. It was a projection of the ancient shipwreck below them, overlaid with complex geometric markings. At the center of the wreck, a bright red sphere pulsed. "That's not just a shipwreck," Kaan said, his voice taut. "That's a massive, submerged seismic charge. The chemical symbols on the crates, they're components for a fusion initiator. They're going to detonate this charge using the isotopylene 157 core. That's why they were moving it." Elara stared at the map, horror dawning in her eyes. If they detonate a charge of that magnitude at this depth, it won't just be a blast. It will trigger a massive localized tsunami. Aetherium isn't after control, they're after chaos. They are deliberately targeting a coastal population center to induce mass fear and economic collapse, forcing governments to turn to them for the solution. Then Kaan pointed to a small, almost insignificant object placed next to the seismic charge on the map, a tiny gold-flecked orb. The fifth piece, Kaan said. The final piece of the key, the activation mechanism. Miro used the power core's volatility as a lure, knowing we'd have to come here to get it. He set the final piece inside his weapon. Before they could process the discovery, the Ether One's emergency alarm blared. They had been detected. The cargo bay door began to cycle open, revealing the pressurized interior of the main submersible and the silhouettes of armed Aetherium crewmen. They're coming for us. Kaan shoved Elara toward the breached hatch. You have the key. Get back to the DCS. We can't leave the fifth piece, and we can't let them detonate that charge. You retrieve the piece, I neutralize the charge, Kaan said, his eyes blazing with a fierce determination. I need coordinates for the charge's arming mechanism. Now. Elara, realizing the gravity of the situation, saving the world was now paramount, worked her tablet furiously, calculating the fastest access point to the seismic charge below. It's 100 meters down inside the shipwreck's hull. The arming mechanism is a magnetic lock. You need a powerful electromagnetic pulse to break it. Kaan, without hesitation, ripped a specialized EMP grenade from his suit, checking its frequency range. Go. I'll cover the hatch. As the Aetherium crewmen burst into the cargo bay, Kaan engaged them with practiced efficiency, using the tight space and the low gravity to his advantage. Meanwhile, Elara, guided by the sonar, plunged out of the cargo bay and into the dark abyss, heading for the shipwreck. The fifth fragment, the activation mechanism, was secured inside a small pressure casing nestled right next to the massive, ticking seismic charge. Elara worked with trembling hands, fighting the intense pressure and the limited visibility, using a microcutter to pry open the casing. Beep beep beep. She got the casing open just as the Ether One began to move, its massive propellers churning the water, heading for the surface. Elara snatched the final gold-flecked orb, the fifth component. On the orb's surface, the final cipher appeared, a set of geographic coordinates leading to a single, secure building in the Swiss Alps. Kaan. I have the final piece. And the final coordinate, CERN, she screamed into the comms. But Kaan was already below her, landing on the hull of the seismic charge. He slammed the EMP grenade onto the magnetic lock. FZZZZZT. A massive burst of energy erupted, momentarily blinding Elara. The seismic charge's red pulse light flickered and died. The magnetic lock was broken, and the initiation sequence was aborted. Charge neutralized, Kaan reported, his voice tight with exhaustion. Mission complete. As the Ether One rapidly ascended, Elara and Kaan rendezvoused at their DCS, racing out of the abyss. They had all 5 pieces of the quantum key and the final destination. But they knew Aetherium would be waiting for them in Switzerland, poised to strike at the moment of the key's final activation. The final confrontation was only hours away. The final coordinate, transmitted from the depths of the Mediterranean, pointed to a singular nexus of human achievement. CERN, the European Organization for Nuclear Research, straddling the border between Switzerland and France. Specifically, the location was deep within the shielded, high-energy environment of the Large Hadron Collider, LHC, the most powerful particle accelerator on Earth. Elara and Kaan arrived under the cover of a massive manufactured security breach, a tactical distraction Kaan orchestrated using every remaining asset and contact. They bypassed CERN's external security by posing as a rapid response technical team, their mission disguised as a critical equipment upgrade. The final cipher is a physical requirement, Elara explained as they descended into the subterranean tunnels, the air vibrating with controlled energy. She held the 5 assembled fragments of the quantum key, now a complex silver and gold sphere humming with latent power. The key needs the immense energy field of the LHC's final accelerator stage to complete its synchronization. The energy pulse is the last ingredient, not the location. This is where we activate the key and unlock the full coordinates of the Silent Cipher. And Miro knows it, Kaan countered, his gaze constantly sweeping the deserted maintenance tunnels. He let us collect the pieces. He forced us here. This is the designated final battlefield. He wants the fully assembled, activated key. They reached the designated terminal, a massive reinforced chamber housing the final focusing magnets of the LHC ring. The atmosphere was charged with palpable force. Elara connected the key to a specially prepared interface terminal. "We have a 2-minute window," she announced, watching the LHC's energy output gauge climb toward its operational peak. "The accelerator is reaching maximum power. I have to lock in the key before the energy spike passes." As Elara began the final sequence, a metallic hiss echoed from the main entrance tunnel. The sound was immediately followed by a wave of cold, arrogant authority. Miro stepped out of the shadows. He wasn't in tactical gear. He wore an immaculate, dark suit, a chilling contrast to the industrial environment. He was flanked by his remaining ghosts and Lyra, the signals analyst from Vienna. "Dr. Vance," Miro said, his voice echoing with a theatrical, almost paternal disappointment. "Always so predictable. You solved the puzzles but you never understood the game. The key was never lost, it was being delivered." "Elias," Elara shot back, her voice shaking but firm. "My father showed you the geometry of the cipher because he believed in its peaceful potential. You seek to weaponize it." Miro smiled, a cold, humorless gesture. "Your father was weak. He stopped when he discovered the energy source could fold space and time. He feared what he called the cosmic jump. I embrace it. Give me the key, Elara. We finish the work together." Kaan stepped forward, placing himself between Elara and Miro. "Your personal issues are irrelevant, Miro. The party's over. You get nothing." Miro simply gave a slight nod to his team. "Ghost, incapacitate the asset. Retrieve the key." The fight exploded with savage intensity. The ghosts, now armed with advanced plasma cutters and reinforced armor, were a formidable challenge. Kaan, fighting on a platform that vibrated with millions of electron volts of contained energy, used the environment as his ally. He moved with brutal efficiency, forcing the ghosts into the path of energy conduits and tight corners, relying on the immense magnetic field to disrupt their plasma weaponry. Meanwhile, Lyra and Miro focused on Elara. Lyra, using a compact, high-frequency jammer, attempted to interfere with the key synchronization. "Elara! Jammer!" Kaan yelled, parrying a ghost's attack with a steel rod he'd snatched from a nearby rack. Elara didn't look up. She was racing against the clock. The energy gauge was hitting 95%. "I'm rerouting the key's own magnetic field to counter the jammer. I can't hold it for long." Miro advanced, drawing a small, elegant energy pistol. The scientist always chooses the elegant solution. I choose the direct one. Before Miro could fire, Kaan launched a discarded piece of metallic debris with impossible force, grazing Miro's shoulder and knocking his aim wide. The diversion gave Kaan a momentary advantage. He took down one ghost by overloading a nearby capacitor, creating a localized electric discharge that shorted the ghost's armor. He then turned his attention to Lyra, dispatching her with a swift, non-lethal strike that crumpled her against the wall, neutralizing the jammer. But Kaan was bleeding, pushed to his limit. He realized the battle was a distraction. Miro didn't need to win the fight. He just needed Elara to fail the synchronization. Beep beep beep. The terminal alarm blared. 99%. Miro, ignoring the fallen, focused his remaining energy on the final desperate lunge at Elara. He slammed his body against the console, trying to disconnect the key. Elara held fast, her hands clamped around the terminal interface, the power surge overwhelming her senses. Too late, Elias. Crack. The key, reaching maximum saturation, emitted a blinding flash of golden light. It was fully activated. The terminal screen exploded, displaying the final, complete coordinates of the Silent Cipher. A set of coordinates that didn't point to a geographical location, but to a specific point in time. Miro, recoiling from the flash, let out a cry of frustrated rage. He saw the final coordinates vanish from the shattered screen and realized his failure. He was moments too late. "You may have the key, Elara, but you won't reach the target." Miro screamed, regaining his composure. He pulled a second device, a small, highly unstable magnetic disruptor, and hurled it at the main LHC circuit breaker. He's going to collapse the field, Elara realized, grabbing the now activated key. It will fry the entire facility. Kaan, bruised but unbroken, launched himself at Miro, tackling him away from the disruptor. They tumbled across the floor, engaged in a final, brutal struggle. Go, Elara. Use the key. Get out. Kaan yelled, locking Miro in a desperate chokehold. The coordinates. Now. Elara didn't hesitate. With the activated quantum key vibrating fiercely in her hand, she entered the final temporal coordinates into her handheld data drive. The air shimmered around her. The key's energy, once focused by the LHC, was now active. She looked at Kaan wrestling with Miro in the chaos. His expression was one of grim finality, a clear message that he was buying her escape with his life. Tears streaming down her face, Elara hit the final activation command on her drive. A blinding flash of light erupted, momentarily engulfing the chamber. Then there was only Kaan, Miro, and the humming silence of the near-destroyed LHC. Elara Vance and the quantum key were gone. Silence. Not the muted hum of the LHC, but the profound, unnerving stillness of an empty world. Dr. Elara Vance materialized in the middle of a familiar, yet utterly deserted landscape. The activated quantum key had worked, executing the cosmic jump that her father had feared and Miro had sought. The final coordinates had not led to a place, but a temporal displacement point. She stood precisely where her Istanbul lab had been, but the modern high-rise was gone. In its place was a vast, sprawling marshland, occasionally broken by ancient, overgrown ruins. The air was cleaner, thinner. The coordinates had delivered her to Istanbul 50,000 years in the past. She was standing on the shore of a prehistoric Black Sea. The realization was a punch to the gut. The energy source the Silent Cipher pointed to was not a physical location on the modern map, but a temporal anchor, a moment in prehistory when the universe's ambient energy was at its purest and most concentrated. By using the quantum key, she hadn't just found the energy, she had created a momentary temporal rift to access it. She checked the drive. The cipher was fully decrypted. It was a single command string, the ultimate power, the ability to draw infinite, vacuum energy through the temporal anchor. Suddenly, a voice, calm and cold, broke the silence. A beautiful isolation, isn't it, Elara? Miro stood 20 feet away, emerging from the tall, swamp grasses. He was injured, his suit torn but alive. Kaan Demir was nowhere to be seen. You failed, Elara choked out, clutching the key tightly. I activated the key. I made the jump. I merely rode the wake, Miro corrected, dusting himself off. When you executed the jump, Kaan was distracted, and I had the chance to touch the terminal. I used the residual energy footprint to follow you through the temporal ripple. We are both outside of time now, Elara. But only one of us will return. Miro advanced slowly. The key is inert now, it expended its energy on the jump. You have the coordinates, the activation code, in that drive. The time anchor is active for only a few more minutes. We must initiate the energy transfer immediately, or the rift will close and we'll be stranded here. He wasn't wrong. A faint, high-pitched whine was audible, the sound of the temporal rift stabilizing, then collapsing. I won't let you use this power for chaos, Elias, Elara declared, stepping back towards the marsh. Chaos is the cleansing fire. I will return to our time with a power source capable of instantaneous, unlimited transfer. Imagine, Elara, I can displace every government, every army, every economic stronghold in the world with a thought. I will remake the world in my father's image, a world free of the very weakness he instilled in you. Elara lifted the key, a desperate plan forming in her mind. She couldn't initiate the power transfer, but she could execute the key's primary function. Instantaneous matter transfer. Then you will stay here and watch the world you hate evolve without you, she stated. Miro lunged. The drive, Elara. A shape flashed from the undergrowth, moving with lightning speed. Kaan Demir erupted from the shadows, hitting Miro with a force that sent them both tumbling into the thick, freezing mud. I told you, Kaan gasped, his voice tight with pain, I don't lose the asset. He had used the last of his momentum to secure Miro's arm. The key, Elara. Kaan yelled, struggling against Miro's desperate thrashing. Use the transfer function. Send the key to a temporal destination we can't trace. Miro managed to break Kaan's grip for a second, his hand scrambling toward Elara. No. That power belongs to me. Elara knew her scientific duty had ended. The key was too dangerous. It couldn't be used, not by her and certainly not by Miro. She looked at Kaan, her protector, her partner, now fighting for their shared future in a desperate brawl. She held the quantum key over her head. Her fingers flew across the interface of her drive, inputting a new, complex set of coordinates, not a single time or place, but a randomized temporal and spatial coordinate set that would send the key hurtling into an unknown point in the cosmic future. "Goodbye, Elias," she whispered. She hit the final transfer command. The quantum key pulsed one last time, an intense, silent burst of golden light, and then it was gone, instantaneously displaced into the universe's far future, forever beyond the reach of human hands. Miro, witnessing the annihilation of his life's work, let out a primal scream of defeat. He surged against Kaan, no longer fighting for the key but fighting for pure vengeance. Whoosh! The world snapped back into focus. The marshland, the prehistoric trees, and the ancient ruins all evaporated, replaced by the humming energy conduits of the CERN facility. The temporal rift had closed. Elara was back, standing alone in the shattered LHC chamber. But Miro and Kaan were gone. 6 months later, Elara Vance sat in a quiet, anonymous apartment overlooking Lake Geneva. She was no longer a fugitive, but a deeply guarded secret asset of an international task force formed to monitor Aetherium's fractured remnants. The organization was crippled but not destroyed. Lyra and the remaining operatives had vanished, hinting at a long-term threat. Kaan Demir's fate was a perpetual ache. She had searched, using every resource available but found no trace. He had been standing directly in the closing temporal rift, grappling with Miro. Logic dictated they were both lost to the vastness of time. She opened her encrypted drive. The Silent Cipher remained, the blueprint to unlimited energy, but the key to unlock it was gone, scattered across the timeline. She would never use the cipher. Her life was now dedicated to ensuring no one else ever could. She felt a flicker of movement behind her. A shadow in the room that shouldn't be there. She turned, her heart slamming against her ribs. Standing by the window, silhouetted against the pale morning light, was Kaan Demir. His clothes were torn and ancient, his face gaunt, but his eyes, those vigilant, dark eyes, were sharp and familiar. "You look like you've been on a long trip," Elara said, trying to steady her voice. Kaan gave a faint, tired smile. 50,000 years is a lot of walking, Doctor. Miro, he didn't survive the landing. I learned a few things about Aetherium while I was waiting for the timeline to catch up. He walked toward her, holding out his hand. In his palm was a small, ancient stone, a rock he had picked up in the prehistoric marsh. "The good news," Kaan said, his voice husky, "is that the world is safe. The bad news is I think I saw your great-great-great-great-grandparents." Elara laughed, a sound of pure, unadulterated relief and disbelief. She walked to him, not for an embrace, but a promise of partnership. "So," she said, looking out at the modern world he had fought 50 millennia to return to, "we have a fractured organization to track and a whole lot of catching up to do." "Exactly," Kaan confirmed, his familiar pragmatic fire rekindled. "Risk management is back in session. Where do we start?" Dear viewer, if you've watched up to this point, thank you for your support. I have a small request. If you enjoy my stories, you can subscribe to the channel, and don't hesitate to share your thoughts about the stories in the comments. Enjoy watching. Thank you for listening. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and like the video.